Bottom Line Sports Talk. I'm George Abram. You know Albert Campman. Albert, one time a year we do a special, and I think that with the amount of interest that it has conjured up over the years, the NFL Draft has basically become another event. It's their segue between what used to be OTAs. We're seeing them going the way of the Magic Moths.
Right.
But that and summer camp. And these teams basically use this draft to fulfill their team, fill the roster, and basically, you and I have talked about this before, fill holes.
Yeah, and the NFL has used this draft to make themselves the hit. Everybody is looking forward to this for months, for weeks, for forever, and they make it work with money. I mean, we talked about money in this show. The NFL gets it, George. Of all the ones that
they're the big daddy.
NFL, yeah, they are. They become the big. Don't even compare it.
NBA's okay.
Not compared to NFL. No.
And even the Oscars the other night had a terrible night.
Yeah.
Nobody watched. But nobody saw the movies. That's part of it.
Yeah, they don't see them.
But this is entertainment.
To the nth degree.
Sport.
Yeah.
And yet there are shows. Now, if I'd have told your father 30 years ago, there's going to be show on year-round, every day, talking about heat.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, what are you talking about?
Every day.
Now,
and they're not right anyway.
We're going to talk about that. There are guys like Mel Kiper who has made a living and a good living.
Big time.
When he started in '78 or
big
whatever,
time living.
He was working out of his basement, and he had this printed paper.
He had a vision. I'll give him credit.
Yeah,
he had a vision that this was going to be needed.
Yep.
That this is going to be necessary, and this is going to be, and somebody's going to analyze these things like me. And son of a gun, he didn't make it work.
We're going to take this apart because there are so many of these out here now. You can just go like this in the internet and find a draft. But we're going to talk about historically and some of the things we've gotten right.
Yeah.
And on occasion we've missed, but we've done way better. What we're trying to tell you, I think, is we owe no homage to anybody. We're going to give you the truth. We're not mad. We'll Pitt get mad and not let us down there.
Ohio State get mad and not let us down there.
Ohio State get mad and say, no, you can't come do your preseason show. We're going to tell you, Ohio State hasn't had a quarterback to go to the NFL in 30 years.
And Alabama hasn't.
Alabama.
So I'm talking about something that can apply. And
yeah.
So the first thing we'll tell you is Mac Jones is not the guy to draft. Fields is not the guy. We'll take those two.
Absolutely.
Don't take either one of them. Yeah, take them. But know that in 2 years from now, they're going to be developed into a player maybe. Don't think they're going to come in. There's one quarterback in this draft that is the sure thing. It's Lawrence. Yeah. And after that, but George, they're putting Wilson. They're putting Fields, Lance, right down the line. Trying to say they're one of the three of the top 5 people in the draft.
I heard the other day I was driving a car, almost went off the road. So he's coming up the board. Now I need to know, how do you come up the board throwing passes in shorts? And I believe, you can check this, I'm 95%. The kid at BYU is older than the Ravens quarterback.
He is.
Now, Albert.
He is. There's no question.
Now tell me.
Yeah. I got a chance to play with Ron Jaworski, the Polish rifle.
How was that?
And if he, today, if they did what they do today, he would have been the number 1 player in the draft because he threw the ball farther and harder in gym shorts than anybody in the country.
Oh.
And he got drafted highly. Skiing, he had a great career. But they didn't base it on his gym short. They based it on film.
Imagine them coming to Youngstown and watching him throw passes to
me.
Guys
To me.
And they'd say, he hit a big 60-yarder.
He's coming up the board.
Was there a defense?
No rush.
Do you have equipment on? No.
Coming up the board.
Was there anybody on the receiver? No.
Coming up the board.
So he was throwing against air.
So everything we say on this show has nothing to do with the combine. We will tell you straight out. We will tell you that defensive backs from small schools are the only one who will put something into it. Other than that, we watched them all play. George is major. He sees every game 10 times. I see every game 3 times.
And the other thing, too, this idea that you ignore 52 game tapes because the guy runs through the cones. It's just
we can't do that. We
won't do it.
No. So that leads us to the NFL draft and how we think there are 3 players that are can't misses. And they happen to be in the position that are game-changing with regard to the fans. The fans love playmakers. And Lamar Chase from LSU is our first guy on the board. He's a no-brainer. You know, there's some guys that are just stand out. He stood out at LSU in that league. He was by far the guy that stood out. And he stood out even above Devonta Smith, who was our number 2 ranked guy. Yeah. That's how good those two guys are. They're playmaker deluxes, George.
Talk about him. He's versatile.
Yeah. He can catch the long ball. He can catch a 5-yarder and take it to the house.
How about 6'1", 210?
And he goes in traffic and catches the ball.
That's what you want. We'll talk about Devonta Smith. I don't know if they want to weigh him or try to catch him. Because I've watched when they try to catch him, it doesn't work out so well.
No. And so Chase has the bigger body.
Yeah, talk about
and that's
Chase.
why we have him above Smith. Other than that, we'd have Smith there.
Yeah.
He took the year off on purpose.
Well, how do you see that?
I think it's wise these days. In my old days.
So you come around on that?
With COVID. No, with the COVID. That's all. Not normally. I don't like it normal. No, if you
don't see an all-in guy.
I don't see that. Yeah,
okay.
Christian McCaffrey was the first guy to do that, and he's proved me wrong.
Well, no, he really didn't. You don't like it.
No, I don't like it at all.
No, that doesn't mean you're wrong.
I just think that team is more valuable to me.
We're all in, guys. You're in or you're out. We don't have that. Well, he'll be here Wednesday, but then Thursday he's going.
So what we're talking about was a bowl game, and he decided to sit out the bowl game.
Yeah.
I didn't like it at all. I did not like it. I understand why you would play with your senior buddies 4 full years, and then the last game sit out. I don't understand that. The COVID has made a difference. This is totally different time period this last year and a half. So I don't judge that with anything that went on before that.
So we got Chase at the
top of the list.
Is our best player.
Yeah. Smith's number 2. Okay. Smith's number 2 at the list because of his unbelievable speed and pads.
How far down does he fall before someone says, "I got to take him"?
Jeez, oh man, he'll be taken in the top 10, no question. But I'm saying this to you: Jerry Rice, the all-time greatest receiver ever. They all said they weren't sure about his speed, and George always says, "What, George?"
I never saw anybody catch him. I watched him play for the 49ers forever.
Nobody ever caught him.
And I got to thinking, I hear this nonsense about his speed, but then I said, well, now that I'm thinking back, I don't recall anybody running him down.
And so when Smith played, the announcers would say he has a tough matchup tonight. The defensive back he's playing against runs a 4.25, and he catches the ball, and all of a sudden he started running that 4.25 guy.
Just run past.
He run right by him, and I'm saying,
no.
I don't care how fast can you run in pads.
Yeah.
You coaches are watching our show. You know that.
You know it.
That's the best thing there is that kid makes his cut without slowing down. That kid has go-ahead speed with all the pads on.
I told Al that I had a kid a few years ago play for me. It's been a while now, 15, and played quarterback at Syracuse. And I watched him against a team like Penn Hills. They had a ton of speed.
Uh-huh.
And he would break through there, and they couldn't
They wouldn't catch him, would they?
And they were all faster maybe in track, but they weren't faster with that equipment on.
Yeah, and the most talented kid in the draft, there's no doubt in my mind, the most talented is Kyle Pitts, the tight end from Florida. He is such a different-looking cat, no question, George.
6'6", 240.
And runs like a Devonta Smith. So he's his explosiveness means his ceiling is higher than even Chase and Smith.
You think he'll be the first guy after the quarterbacks?
That's what they're saying.
Does that make sense?
If Atlanta keeps their pick, they're going to take him.
Now you got 2 guys. Julio, by the way, they're getting a ton of calls on Julio.
Really?
Yeah, 30 today.
Wow.
So you have those 2 receivers at tight end and probably the red right.
It'd be like Kansas City. It'd be like Kansas City with the receivers. The receivers all.
Something goes
because Pitts makes them like Kelsey for Kansas City.
What happens down there?
Yeah.
Is it
defensively, defense is not real good. They can't defend. And Ryan's overrated. Yeah. No, we'll say that straight out.
Yeah.
We think he's a good quarterback, not a great quarterback.
No, I'm not.
I didn't say he wasn't good.
I'm not a fan.
But he's not as great as they say. Sleepers in the draft will go in the second, third, fourth round. That should be first rounders. Because Jefferson played at LSU, and because Chase played at LSU, they're missing the third receiver at LSU, named Terrence Marshall Jr. He is going to be a star in the NFL. He can play both slot. He can play both outside. He's all over the place. He was the number 1 receiver coming out of high school in the country. He is a dynamite player that'll go in the second round probably. Should be a first rounder. So look for Terrence Marshall Jr. And
Now, he led them, and then he sat out.
yes.
Bloodlines, Joe Delaney, one of the, remember,
Yes.
if you guys don't remember, he drowned trying to save 3 kids.
Yeah.
Couldn't swim himself. That took some
He was a great
real
running back, yes.
fortitude.
No question about that. So, yeah, but his stats are tremendous. You know, he runs the 4.3, but I know he's fast. I don't have to look at this. I know he runs a 4.38, but I don't have to look at it. I
And
watch
he's
him
from
play,
Louisiana, another guy from Louisiana.
which is the hotbed for number 1 picks. Now, we're not saying Texas and California and Florida aren't unbelievable. But if you want the number 1 picks, the per capita,
Hey, do his athletic scores.
do
his scores because they won't believe it.
well, he has a 39-inch vertical, 125-inch broad jump, and 16 rep lifting. So, in other words, he's lived in the weight room too for a wide receiver.
4.38.
Yeah. So all these things add up. We told you we don't have to look at those to know a great player. We've watched him play at LSU enough in the SEC against the best of the best, and shine. So our first sleeper is Terry Marshall Jr. The one we really like is Creed Humphrey, the all everything center from Oklahoma. When you watch all these lines, they're talking about Sewell, and they're talking about lots of guys around the line. The one on film that stands out to us is Creed Humphrey. He's our best lineman in the draft. He's right now it's somewhere between 45 and 50 in the draft. So whoever gets him
He should come down.
should right away they should say, how did we get him? He dominates.
Let me
He
tell you about him.
dominates.
He got to Oklahoma. They had the whole line back. They just sat him right in there the first day.
Immediately.
They won the Joe Moore Award, which is an award for the best lineman.
And it's
Several
because of
those
him.
guys have been drafted, and he's better than all.
Yeah, the other 4 guys came in, what George talked about, all are in the NFL.
Yeah.
And they asked Riley, about.
Yeah, who's
he said,
better?
me, the best lineman of the bunch is Creed Humphrey. So he can play. He can play guard. He can play. And I'm telling you, I think he squats like 600 pounds. George, or does something with the. Yeah, he does. He squats 600. I've written down on my paper.
As a freshman, he squatted
600. So his strength, his pass blocking, his run blocking. Creed Humphrey. Mark that down on your sheet.
And let's talk about that too. There's another family of wrestlers.
Oh, I love wrestling.
They know their center
Leverage,
of gravity,
they know
their
leverage,
leverage, and
they
know
do.
how to use their hands.
They do.
They're bad boys.
They have
They're
leverage.
bad boys. Let's face it.
Yeah, they can. Wrestlers come prepared to whoop you every time. Now let's go to the running backs, and they're rating all these running backs. There's not a chance in the NFL that I would take a running back in the first round. When's the last time a running back's taken you to the promised land, George? Can you remember the last time? Well, here's why they won the championship.
No, I know.
I can't remember.
The 49ers got there. The guy was fourth
Mozart, yeah, no.
Mostert,
Williams in
fourth
Kansas
string.
City. Yeah. This year they had 2 pickups. Tampa Bay picked up 2 guys. Now Fournette used to be a number 1 pick, but Jacksonville got rid of him. They didn't want him, and all of a sudden he shows up there and plays.
Yeah.
There is no running backs taking the promised land, and those are rated are Najee Harris and the Clemson quarter and running back.
Yeah.
Equin, how you would say his name?
Etienne.
Thank you, George. And so they're good. They're very good. But you can get somebody else better. So I'd wait to the second round if I could, and I'd immediately jump on Javonte Williams from North Carolina. He's rated 3rd, 4th, or 5th.
And you know what else he does great?
In NFL, you have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's no longer just smash mouth. And I'll tell you what else comes into play, picking up the blitz.
No, those 2 things are everything. No, you have to. And at North Carolina, they had Howe at the quarterback position, and they blitzed him a lot.
He'll be the best back, right?
Yeah. So
Coming back?
Yes. Best quarterback? Yeah, Howe is. But Javonte Williams is the guy that we like in North Carolina. They have Carter there also, but I watched them both play many times. I thought Williams was the better of the 2. And later on, the best back per round, per pound in the draft is Elijah Mitchell from Louisiana. And
that's Louisiana, the Raging Cajun.
The Raging Cajuns.
That's not LSU.
I see him Raging Cajun a lot of
I've
guys.
seen him take some boys
I have no idea why people aren't talking about him. He's the most underrated running back in the draft, no question about it. Georgia put that Thursday night or Wednesday night game on and say, hey, you got to see Mitchell again.
See this dude from Louisiana.
Yes.
No, it's not normal.
Makes everybody miss, takes it to the house, and will take your head off on picking up a blitz. Elijah Mitchell is the guy that if you see him get drafted in the running back position, wherever he's at, put a check mark next to him and say, Bottom Line Sports told you about that.
And I'm going to say something about him. He played at 212, 215. He's too flat. When I see a guy lose when he's already chiseled, it tells me he's serious.
Those are the guys that want to, have the want to be better.
Yeah.
You know, we've seen some fat guys.
I want to be thinner, but I won't stay off that cake at 9 o'clock.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
I'll go to the fridge.
I'm the same way.
And that's why I'll never be thin.
Yeah, OA from Penn State is for you Browns fans watching, there should be a no-brainer. That should be their pick. Mm-hmm. They need the thing that's going to put them over the hump, the pass rusher on the other side. I don't think Clowney's that pass rusher anymore. I think he's a really good run stopper. I want somebody to watch opposite Garrett that's going to go after that quarterback, George. So for you Browns fans, who we think are going to be really good. Don't we both think that, George?
Absolutely.
We think the Browns are going to be really good this year. Last year we said we weren't sure. They ended up being having a nice year, by the way. This year we think they're really, really good.
Yeah, I have them right under Kansas City and Buffalo. I have them right there.
So do I, George. I have the exact same spot.
Okay.
And so I think what puts you over the hump in football, Mayfield has proved he's a capable quarterback. Their offensive line is sensational, and they have good receivers. So they're set that way. On the other side, can you rush the passer and can you cover? So they have to go the route of rushing the passer and then get a couple guys to cover people on the outside, and that will take us to our number one sleeper, Robert Rochelle from Central Arkansas. Now, when you go to a small school, you have to stand out.
You won't get picked.
No, you have to be the guy that stands out. And Rochelle did. If he was in a Power 5 school, he'd be a number one pick for sure. But when you watch the film, remember he's playing against lesser opponents a little bit.
Absolutely.
But his production was amazing. 38 passes defended, 10 interceptions, tremendous speed, dominated the way you want a player to play at Central Arkansas, and that's what he does. So you want to look for Rochelle as a sleeper in the defensive backfield. Also, if you watch Kentucky play in the SEC, they somehow would play great defense on one side of the ball, and that was Calvin Joseph, George. I remember when they played Alabama.
They didn't throw the ball.
Yeah, Alabama threw 3 passes at him, and he intercepted one of them. Now, remember, Alabama covers the field all. They just threw opposite him. They said, why are we going to go against him? So we got Rochelle, and we got Joseph in the defensive backfield.
Let's talk about Rochelle's time. He made the freak list. 4.3940.
Yeah, and it's important. You're here to say early in the show that why is the combine important for anybody? It's important for defensive backs.
Because you'd read that. You'd say Central Arkansas.
Yeah, you would make you think it's not true.
Who did he ever play against? Shippensburg.
He's the guy you want to do the drills with and see his hip turns.
Yeah.
You want to see how he catches the football and
Absolutely.
how he attacks the ball while it's in the air. You want to see his speed out of the breaks. That's why the combine is good for guys like Rochelle from Central Arkansas. No question about it.
What Al's saying, the quality of competition belies his ability. But when you watch him now, when they have a combine, when they have a Senior Bowl, when they have all these things, they can see him against Notre Dame receivers and Stanford receivers and
such. Exactly. That's why the Lance guy, we haven't mentioned him, from North Dakota State, we know on straight shorts he has the strongest arm in the draft. We know that he can run like a deer. But George, the competition, and we're not cutting down YSU because we know how good they are. But it's not Alabama.
No.
It's not, so that's why you got, I think San Francisco's going to have taken him, by the way. I think they see enough in him. They're going to surprise and pass Fields and Mac Jones out. I think they're going to take Lance. We'll see if I'm right on that. We'll come back on the show and see if I was right. But I think San Francisco is going to take him. I think they're going to surprise everybody.
But, when you talk about guys like this, the same with Joseph. I mean, if they're not going to throw the ball at his side, he can't build crazy numbers.
No, that's right, and that's what you want to see. You want to see those kind of things for sleepers. We have two sleeper quarterbacks that George and I have really hit on. Last year we missed. We did not know that Herbert would turn out like he did at San Diego.
No,
we did not turn out.
I'll just say this. I watched them all year, and until the Rose Bowl, they didn't turn him loose.
Right.
They turned him loose at the Rose Bowl, mostly as a runner.
Right. It was a runner more that day, yes. So we weren't sure about him, but if you look at our quarterback down to where I said Kyler Murray, definitely number one pick.
Zach Prescott.
We said Zach Prescott was the best quarterback in that draft. We said George loved Jackson. I loved Allen from Wyoming. Just loved him. I raved about him. Now everybody's surprised that what he's doing at Buffalo. I was never surprised. Go back to our YouTube and watch our draft shows. We were right on all four. The only two we were wrong on is Herbert last year and Peterman from Pitt. I thought he'd be an excellent quarterback. He has not turned out to be that way. So, but here's our two quarterbacks this year that we're all over. First, mine is Kellen Mond from A&M. His competition was sensational. He threw for over 300-some yards against Alabama, threw for over 300 yards against Florida, threw 6 touchdowns in those games. I watch him throw with a velocity down the field and a soft touch to the end, and he wasn't playing with the best receivers in the league. And Jimbo Fisher loves to run the football.
He's got that going there, Jimbo Fisher.
He likes to run the football.
He likes to run the football.
Yes.
He's had some quarterbacks.
But he likes to run the football.
Absolutely.
His great players who went to the pros are running backs or offensive linemen.
Yes.
I'm going to predict right now, Mons will turn out better than Fields, Jones, and Trask out of the same conference. That's how positive I feel about Mon. And George guys is Davis Mills from Stanford. George has said all along, listen, I didn't see a lot of him, but when I did see him, he threw the heck out of the ball.
No, they're talking about him from some of these,
Well, now they are, but you had it pegged a long time ago.
Well, yeah, I did,
you know what I'm
because
saying?
I liked him.
You liked him then, and you liked him then, and his mobility's better than you think, and he has a gun. So if you have a chance in the pros, if you got mobility
how about
and
you
a
get
strong
him
arm,
like second, third round?
Yes.
And then you about halfway through the summer, you say, you know what, we got a guy.
we got the guy.
10 more years.
Yeah. So those are our guys.
Did you know he's smart from Stanford? I mean, I know that sounds like a
Oh,
generality.
that's no generality. No, it's a fact.
He's
That's
smart.
a fact. Vanderbilt, Northwestern, Stanford. I can guarantee all three of them
Yeah, we don't
are
know
not
how-
taking any low.
That's like Rice.
academic
We
guy.
don't know if the team's any good, but we know the kid can do the schoolwork.
Yeah. So those are three. Those are our two quarterbacks. Circle those two, and in 5 years from now, you'll say those two geniuses said Mond and Mills were going to be two outstanding quarterbacks. We're on that one. The best run linebacker by far is Nick Bolton from Missouri. So if you want a running back, linebacker who will dominate for 2 downs, and I think he's underrated with pass too.
Yeah, and how about this? They compare him to Spillman. Now, you Ohio State people know.
Yes.
It's like comparing something to Heinz.
Would you like to have Chris Spillman on your
It's
team?
as high as you can. It's the top of the shelf.
Yes.
When they compare you to Spillman, you're at the top.
That's why I wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me a bit that Detroit takes him. Now that Spillman's in the draft room, he's going to watch this kid and say, "That's me. That's the way I played."
Yeah.
It wouldn't shock me at all if Detroit takes him. Trevon Moehrig from TCU is a guy I hope the Browns get the shorter secondary up. He's a safety. I think he's a top overall safety in the draft. He explodes with his hits. The helmets come off when he hits, and that's the safety you want. Plays all the time and hits all the time.
6 INTs.
Yes.
26 passes.
And travels
22 starts.
and travels all over the field playing. Plays for Gary Patterson, who is an excellent defensive coach. A lot of guys come from TCU on the defensive side of the ball and make it in the pros. So I will say that our draft goes through the secondary, through the wide receivers, through 3 quarterbacks we mentioned, and none of them they weren't 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's our draft. That's where we say if you see a positive team draft, put our guys.
Now,
on
we
top.
have about 5 minutes remaining. Let's talk about the common mistakes, the mistakes we look out and say, we could see it coming, and it starts with this rush at the top for quarterback.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, because everybody knows that without one, you have no chance in the NFL. You have to win with the quarterback. So they will take chances upon chance to try to find a quarterback in the NFL. And I mean, they'll overlook some negatives. Example was Sam Darnold, who I still think could be a good quarterback, but he threw the ball to the wrong team.
No, he did it
In
Southern
college,
Cal.
yeah, and they overlooked it because they needed it. Now they're looking at Wilson. Wilson's older than anybody ever played against.
Yeah.
His team this year. Now remember, I'm talking about this
Now
year.
let's talk about that because that's important.
They were way better than everybody they played this year.
See what happened, you guys. All these teams played conference games. SEC, conference only. Okay, so what happened, BYU, who's an independent, along with Army and just a handful, Notre Dame, a quasi-independent.
Right.
What happened was they just started piecing together a schedule. Oh, let's play this. Okay. Well, they got beat at Coastal Carolina, but in their defense, they didn't find out till Monday night they were playing them. But he didn't step up. The point is, in the old days, BYU would play at
Great
Nebraska.
schedule.
They would play at Penn State. They would play at Tennessee. They're
Yes.
never afraid. This was a bad year to grade their quarterback, and I think they panicked.
Yeah, and they're looking at, once again, in shorts. And he looks really great because
Had a killer day there.
he's awesome on those pro days.
Right.
The son of a gun has great feet and can throw the ball without anybody rushing him. But when he played at Coastal Carolina and they rushed him,
They did.
I saw the ball was thrown not the same way. And so, good, yes. Great. Number 2 in the draft, not even close to Chase, not even close to Smith, not even close to Pitt. He would slide down to me into the 15 and 20 place if you needed a quarterback.
That would be a good spot.
Yeah,
for
not
him.
number 2 in the draft.
18 to 25, grab him.
Yeah, Fields the same way. I mean, I watch his accuracy. He's not super accurate.
No.
And if you're in the pros, if you throw the ball 2 inches out of the way,
No, it's too.
it's intercepted or knocked down.
Call it a window.
Yes.
It's about the. And the other thing too, we don't like to hear it here. Ohio State quarterbacks to
Never
the pros.
make it. Never. Alabama's never make it.
What's going
That
on?
takes the Mac Jones. I have a feeling Mac Jones threw the ball up in the air a couple times saying, who's coming down with this thing?
And they did.
Yeah,
Number
Waddle
six.
and Smith
Number
are coming
six.
down. Yes, they're coming down with it. So Alabama has not had a quarterback since Richard Todd. Ohio State hasn't had one since Tomsick. Think about those, how long ago that is
Yeah.
to won a quarterback from
Good
those schools.
quarterback. Like the guy the Steelers grabbed from Ohio State. They couldn't get him to go to a meet. Couldn't get him to wear his mask. Well,
That's
you know, he's
Haskins.
not all in.
Yeah, Haskins.
He's not all in.
He's never been all in. He's just a talented kid, but talent just doesn't get it done. in the
And then
pros.
when you throw $20 million at somebody.
yes,
Now, I'll be the first guy to admit, when I was 21, I'd have been dangerous with $21 million in the bank. I mean, you wouldn't have seen me for days.
yeah,
But
both of us,
But
both
at
of
the
us.
same time, it's a mistake. So I think when you look at all this, I think you have an idea. Let's just real quick, we have 2 minutes. A couple of the new rules that are going to change things next year. The teams that score, there's none of this 7 overtime business. The second time, you must go for 2. Now, also, after the second time, it becomes a game of 2-point conversions. You get the ball on my 2.5, and I do till we have a winner.
Yeah, those are the pressure situations as you want those quarterbacks. That's where it stands out.
Good point.
Yeah, you don't want somebody that's winning 45-0. And a lot of these quarterbacks, that's what Mac Jones was doing. That's what Lawrence was doing. That's what Fields was doing. They would just whoop these teams. Now,
And BYU too. BYU because
Wilson
of him picking
for the
that
play.
schedule.
Yeah, they killed teams too.
They murdered everyone.
And so it takes us to Lawrence, who we passed over. He has everything. The guy has size. The guy has speed. The guy has accuracy. The guy has leadership. The guy understands his teammates. He's a no-brainer. How do I know that? Urban Meyer came back to coach. Urban Meyer would never take a job.
He'd be having those chest pains.
And he wasn't positive
Yeah.
that he got a player that's going to lead him to the promised land. And so I know that Lawrence is the right pick, the first pick in the draft because of our boy Urban. He will never take a job. He will never take anything without the sureness of winning. I look for a lot of trades in the draft too, George.
Okay, absolutely. That's why we're not big on who goes to where.
Yeah.
Because all it takes is one guy. If you got a haircut that looks like the dude from the Raiders, you can expect anything from him.
Right.
Because he was that smart, he wouldn't let somebody cut his hair like that.
Yeah, I know.
So that's what I look at. So on a serious note, all it takes is Daniel Snyder.
So anybody,
or-
any
or
guy does it.
Young Davis to grab a guy out of order, and then the whole draft is kafooey. That's why you want to rank them by ability, not by where they're going.
Yeah, and so the finished product, what's that mean? That means on your list, rank them by who is the best player.
Right.
And if your team takes it because of need, you are done. I've never seen that work ever in the pros. Take the best player. The team has done that the best is the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Figure it out.
They kept saying, why did they take another linebacker?
Yeah.
Well, they got Watt. Why did they take another linebacker?
Yeah.
That's what happens. You take the best player, look for that in the draft. The best player is who you want.
You heard it here. Thanks again for watching Bottom Line Sports Talk.